Mike Pachelli here. Thanks for tuning in to this lesson video. I'm going to be talking about Michelle as recorded by the Beatles on November 3rd, 1965. Paul wrote the song on his Zenith acoustic, and it was influenced by the finger-picking styles of Chet Atkins, particularly his song Trombone, which goes like, let's see. Which sounds nothing like Michelle, but that was the influence. Paul also wanted to work in a chord that George had used in the end of Till There Was You. This chord was taught to them by Jim Geddy, who used to work at Hesse's Music, where the Beatles bought gear. And it's a raised 9 chord. The chord that at the end of the Till There Was You solo, George plays, let's see, he goes, this chord. Great solo. So Paul uses it in Michelle, but he uses it in a bit of an unorthodox way, which I'll talk about in a little later. But Paul would be at parties and he'd be playing those kind of things, kind of mock French songs, a la Sacha Distel, who was a French guitarist and also sidebar. Got to date Brigitte Bardot for an entire year back in 1958 when she was looking spectacular. But I digress. So Paul would be in the corner playing those mock French tunes, you know, to try to impress girls and speaking some kind of made up on the spot French. And so when they were looking for songs for Rubber Soul, John asked Paul, he said, "Do you remember that French thing you used to play at parties? That was a good tune." So they brought out Michelle again. Now when Paul was writing the lyrics, he was at Ivan Vaughan's house, and Ivan is the guy who introduced Paul and John back in 1957. Well, Ivan's wife, Jan, was a French teacher. So Paul asked Jan for a French girl's name that was 2 syllables, and she immediately said, well, Michelle. So she got credit and later on paid by Paul to write some lyrics and actually come up with the title. When Paul wanted some lyrics, he wanted, you know, these are words that go together well, and she came up with sont des mots qui vont très bien ensemble, très bien ensemble. So that's where that came from Jan Vaughan, who was a French teacher. Now, the middle 8 hadn't been written yet by Paul, so that's where John comes in. And John was listening to I Put a Spell on You by Nina Simone, and she had this I love you line, and that's where the I love you comes from in Michelle. They did the rhythm track in 1 take, so they must have rehearsed it quite a bit. They purposely slowed down the last bits of Michelle, which was unusual for them. They wanted to get that extra, you know, that feeling at the end of the song. There was 4 tracks of rhythm recorded. Paul played his Epiphone Texan, and George was playing the J160E, and John was playing a nylon classical Spanish-style guitar. They all capoed on the 5th fret, which I'll do in a moment. And Paul playing his bass too, his Rickenbacker bass, which he experimented with it on the 5th fret, and I don't think he went past a note on the low D, so he may have actually recorded that on his Rickenbacker bass with a capo. Then they overdubbed the acoustic, the George's solo, which could be played on acoustic or electric, because you can mimic that sound either, because a lot of the tone is rolled off. I'll probably use an electric to do it. They also overdubbed Paul's lead vocal, and John overdubbed his little nylon part again. And then Rubber Soul was released on December 6th, 1965, and that's when the first time in America we would have heard Michelle, which was never released as a single. It's an amazing song, and it's fun with some cool parts. So I think that's the backstory, and let's get started. Paul is using his Epiphone Texan on Michelle, same guitar we used on the Ed Sullivan Show when we saw him play yesterday. And it's capoed on the 5th fret. Now, this is a Keras acoustic SJ number 50, FYI. Like I said, Paul's guitars, all the guitars are capoed for this song on the 5th fret, and Paul's the main guitar player. The song starts off with a little kind of jazzy move that he knew based off this F minor. So to play it, you'll need these chords. You'll need an F minor like this. You'll need a C augmented, an F minor 7th, F minor 6th. I'll call this a B flat minor 9, and a C with no third to play the intro. Now what happens is, if you look at the F minor triad, right, you keep the same second and first string notes, while the third string moves down chromatically from the 10th fret. So you play the G string, then upstroke on the second and first strings, like this. He slides into that C thing. So let me get a close-up of that. Now on the verse, some of these chords will look exactly like first position chords, but because of the capo, we're going to call them what they actually sound. So you'll need an F that looks like this. Looks like a C chord. Then a B flat 7 raised 9, which would be the same without the capo. Then a E flat, a B diminished. Cool thing about B diminished is, any diminished chord, I should say, when you move them up in minor third, it's the same chord. It's just the same notes jumbled around. So this B diminished could actually be called an A flat diminished, or a D diminished, or an F diminished, or a B diminished. Because when you move them in minor thirds, like Paul does, it's actually the same chord. But I digress. And then you'll need another C chord voice like this. Okay, so the first time Paul plays it, he does that kind of Chet Atkins thing where he bounces from the root to the fifth. So like on the F chord, it's like. Then he does something a little different on the B flat 7 raised 9. He goes. All right, and the charts and tabs are available at MikePachelli.com, where you can see exactly what he played. Then on the E flat, maybe just quarter notes. Then the very first time he moves that B diminished up. And the only other time he does that is on the way out for the repeat or the fade. Otherwise he stays right here in this position for the B diminished. And then the C. So the first verse, let's do it with the metronome, will sound like this. Now, a word about that B flat 7 raised 9 chord. Me coming from a jazz background, whenever you see the chart from Michel, they never play that chord. They always write just a B flat minor, you know, like. Because that F sharp, the B flat 7th raised 9 has, in a way, it has a major third and a minor third in the same chord. So it's very odd, because he sings, or, which implies B minor, B flat minor. So it could have easily been, right? But Paul chose to use that raised 9, so it's. But if you note on the record, he underplays that a lot. Sometimes he just plays the chord and then just barely hits the G flat, you know? Because, well, to his ear too, it was a bit unorthodox. All right, normally on the verse, except for the first verse, he bounces the root fifth thing. He normally just plays kind of a rhythm where it's like 1, 2, and 3, 4. So it's kind of like. No, he only moves up the first time. What I wanted to say about the B diminished is sometimes he plays the first string, and sometimes not. Sometimes just the inside string. Sometimes it's just. But if you listen closely, sometime you'll hear. And again, I write it out perfectly for you on the chart and tabs. So the things to remember to at the beginning is just, play it like Paul, play down and then up, play it. Now on the bridge, you'll need this F minor to an A flat 7 to a D flat, then a C, back to the F minor. Now again, on the very first bridge, and it repeats 3 times, the very first time he does the Chet Atkins root 5th thing. So he plays it like this. He goes. Then into the intro thing. All right, so let me play the bridge in time one time. Very first bridge. Thank you, Mr. Music. Once again, the metronome makes an appearance. Ta-da! I love that guy. So those are basically all the parts. The only difference is like on the solo, it's pretty much when George is doing that little solo, it's pretty much a kind of just a free strum, like more like. Coming out of it into the bridge, again, freely strummed. I think you get it. And then when it slows down, he just kind of digs in a little bit, but he always underplays that kind of B flat 7 raised 9, Sometimes he just goes, right? And fades out on that. So those are all the parts you need to play Michelle, just like Paul McCartney. George Harrison is playing a Gibson J160E on Michelle. If you look at photos of them rehearsing, though, he was messing around with John's famous 12-string, but you can clearly hear there's no 12-string on Michelle. This part is very Paul McCartney, so there's a chance it was played by Paul, because Paul was the only one at the mix session of Michelle. But for the sake of this lesson, we're going to attribute it to George Harrison. So the second guitar part on the Gibson is exactly the same chords and voicings as Paul's part, except like on the F minor walk down, it's all downstrokes. It's and that's what George plays every time. He plays that part. He doesn't play on the verse at all. But and the only difference on that particular part is sometimes he slides in on beat 3. Sometimes it's. And again, I'll write it out perfectly if you want to know exactly what they both played, the 2 guitar parts. But that's it for that part. He doesn't play on the verse, but he does play on the 3 bridges. And on the 3 bridges, it's just kind of a light strum that double tracks what Paul's playing. Same chord voicings, and just lightly strummed like this for the bridge. So those are the two parts you need to do the double track rhythm like George Harrison's. Now, the brilliance is, for George's part, is this solo, which was a collaborative effort with George Martin. The solo could have been played on electric or acoustic, because if you roll off most of the tone on a J160, you can get pretty close to the same sound as an electric guitar rolled off, because once you muff it up. But for the sake of here, I will play it on acoustic, and for my sound alike, I'll do it on electric. But the solo goes like this. Let me get a close-up of that for you. Definitely some cool moves in that solo. It starts basically, you know, do, re, mi of an F scale. But there's the triplet feel makes it extra special, you know. And then up to the minor third of B flat, down to the seventh of B flat, slides down. So it's like. Then you could clearly hear that he's playing with capo, because that note rings out like a capoed note. Now here's where you know it's George Harrison playing this, because he when he puts his first finger down on the 6th fret and he lets the open capo note of the 5th string rings out. It goes. Oops, sorry. You hear those together. It's such a George thing. I'm buzzing because the capos made the string so low, but. And then just a C walk up. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, to the minor third of F. Right? And that repeats on the fade out at the end, right? Instead of going to the, he starts it over again. And those are all the parts you need to play Michelle like George Harrison. John Lennon is playing his nylon string Spanish guitar on Michelle, and he only plays when they do the walk down on F minor. He plays this part. So here's a bit of fun for you non-guitarists. I get a lot of email from people who don't necessarily play guitar, but they enjoy the lessons because, well, they love the Beatles. You can say, I can play Michelle just like John Lennon. Get a guitar, and on the 3rd string, go up to the 10th fret, and just play chromatically down. 10th, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And you'll play it exactly like Lennon. So when the song starts, you go. And you will be playing Michelle exactly like John Lennon. Okay, for fun, I've put it all together now in a sound alike. And no, I cannot sing anywhere near as beautifully as Paul McCartney did when he was young and in his 20s. Hey, neither can he now. But anyhow, use this as a reference, and as you learn the parts, play along with my sound alike, and you'll get it just like the Beatles. So here we go.
Très bien
certainly hope you enjoyed that. It was very challenging to do with that 6-part harmony and all those different guitar parts. But use it as a reference, and as you learn the song, play along with me and you'll get it just like the Beatles. If you'd like to drop me a line, do so at mikepachelli.com. That's where the charts and tabs for all my lessons are available to download. And if you would be so kind, please subscribe to this channel. So until next time, I'm Mike Pachelli. Thanks for hanging out with me.